I read these 7 books in July. Technically, I read 8, but I'm not finished with that one yet. And you're gonna decide if any of these are worth your time. We need to go over some house rules though before we get any further. First of all, if it's a 3 stars or higher, it's considered a top. And if it is 2.9 or below, it's a flop. And like I said, we're not just rating these books this month, we're ranking them. It's battle of the fittest.
These books are going head to head.
We're gonna start with our lowest rated books and move our way up to our favorite of July. Bring the personality today. So let's dive in. This is gonna be difficult because I actually loved all the books that I read in July. But I'm going to try to explain to you why I'm ranking them the way that I am. And if you have something to say, please share it down in the comments below. Now just remember, please, these are my opinions and you are well within your right to have your own opinions. So if your favorite book is at the bottom of my list, no tea, no shade. It is what it is. I am in the middle of my 8th book for July. We're currently a few days before the end of July, and I am very confident that I will finish this book before the end of July. So I'm going to put it in the mix anyway and give you kind of my thoughts and feelings on it so far. Starting with book number 8. I'm going to have to give the last spot to Heir by Sabaa Tahir. Like I said, I did love all the books that I read this month. However, Heir would be at the bottom. This one was a little complicated for me to get into. We do follow 3 to 4 to 5 different perspectives, not equally. It was an okay time. I probably will continue the series. However, I'm not connected to any of these characters. Nobody really pulled me in. It keeps you on your toes, but it just didn't do it for me. There was no real emotional connection. I did switch between the audiobook and the physical read, so maybe the disconnect happened when I was listening to it in audiobook and trying to do other things around the house. However, I do feel like I know what happened in the story. I followed it quite well, so I don't really think that's the case. So I did rate Heir 3 out of 5 stars and 2 out of 5 for spice. Technically, this is a YA book, so I did rate lower on the spice scale, but there was still some fade to black and insinuations of spice. 3 out of 5 technically will make this a top for us because we're being a little more forgiving. We're not being so cutthroat about our rating scale. So I'm happy for that. I think if you read anything by like Maya Corlin, you probably would like Heir because they're a little similar, but it's minus the spice. So moving from the 8th spot to the 7th spot, we have our second fantasy book of the month, which is 𝖒𝖊𝖉𝖎𝖆 and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. I actually really did enjoy this story. It was a sad story about a woman thinking that she is doing good in this world. And it turns out that everything she kind of knew was a lie. And it's hard to learn that with her. It's painful to see her come to these realizations because I can't imagine how hard it would be to grow up one way and find out that all of that was a lie. I did really like the characters in this book. We do follow who goes by the name 6, and we go on this journey of learning about who she really is, where she's come from, and where she should go moving forward. The way Rachel Gillig wrote this book, the beginning starts out in a very fascinating and unique way. It really grabbed me in the beginning, and I love the way that she started the book because we really didn't know who we were reading about until we got a few chapters in. Once the main character was revealed to us, we kind of learn about where she is in that current moment, and everything just kind of gets out of hand and unfolds rather quickly for her. I think this is a great story about coming from something or someone who is sheltered and is raised a certain way, and they kind of find their wings and they spread them and they become so much more than they were originally, and they learn so much about themselves and about the world. It's a really moving story. This one is really hard to put in the 7th spot, but like I said, I read some bangers this month, so unfortunately somebody's got to be at the bottom. Rachel Gillig's book 2 for this series does come out rather soon, and I will definitely be continuing this series. I rated this a 3.5 out of 5 stars and a 2 out of 5 for spice. Again, there was some insinuation of spice, there was some back and forth, but nothing too descriptive. The flirting in this book was fun. The banter in this book was fun. And I can't wait to jump into book 2. I think if you liked One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns, you would really like The Night and the Moth because it has that same gothic feel that One Dark Window had. Okay, this is where it starts to get really difficult because I read some of my favorite authors this month, and we also read a lot of contemporary romance and rom-coms to give us that really like summery light vibe. So in our 6th spot, we have The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren. As you guys know, I am a Christina Lauren stan. I love these ladies and I love their books, and I really couldn't wait to get into this one. This is kind of like a fake dating, fake marriage situation, and I can't ever get enough of the characters that this duo writes. It was a fun, summery time. It started in a really interesting way for a rom-com, and it was such a good, fun time. If you love anything by Christina Lauren or Emily Henry or Ali Hazelwood, I would definitely jump into this one. I think you would have a really great time. It's giving a little bit of The Unhoneymooners, and I was actually surprised that like this wasn't part of that series. They were similar in a few ways. I did rate The Paradise Problem 3.5 out of 5 for stars and 3.5 out of 5 for spice. This is a good mixture of comedy and spice. So the next 2 books that I'm going to talk about are kind of tied for 5th place. The first one that I'm going to talk about is the one that I am finished with reading, and that is Trust Fall by Lynn Painter. I did get this book as an e-arc through NetGalley, so thank you so much to NetGalley for giving me an advance copy of this book. I always sign up for the Lynn Painter books if I see them on NetGalley. This is actually the second one that I've read by her through NetGalley, and I'm always guaranteed to have a really fun time with her. So Trust Fall is a YA rom-com about a girl named Julia that is kind of uprooted from her home in the Midwest and moved to a big city. There she meets a boy named Damien, and they're practically enemies with forced proximity that end up becoming great friends. I loved Damien. I loved who he was and all of his layers and the true nature of who he was under everything that he has experienced thus far. Our main characters are in high school, and unfortunately, Julia experiences a lot of negativity in her new school. It was really tough to read because I know that there are kids that have to face situations like this daily, and it was just really hard to read through her experience, but it was really great to know there were people that she could lean on. I'd highly recommend Trust Fall if you like anything by Lynn Painter. Better Than the Movies and Nothing Like the Movies were 2 of my all-time favorite books because of the main characters, and these characters give the same vibes as them. So definitely read this book when it comes out in fall. If you need something lighthearted, funny, and cozy, Lynn Painter just has a way of writing romance. I will say Damien did feel like an old soul, but that makes sense when you read the book, and it really makes sense. I'm trying to be very vague because I don't want to ruin it or spoil anything, but I'm really excited for this book to come out, and I will definitely pick it up when it is released. We ended up giving Trust Fall a 3.5 out of 5 stars and a 1 out of 5 for spice. There wasn't really any spice to be had because we're talking about 2 cute, adorable high schoolers. Once again, thank you so much to NetGalley for letting me read that advance copy. So tied for 5th place. I know like that's not very fair, but I would say these 2, because I haven't finished this one yet, these 2 are just sitting neck and neck together in 5th place. It is Fever Dream by Elsie Silver. This is my second series that I'm reading by Elsie Silver. The first one, I'm currently in the middle of the Rose Hill series, but we're jumping into Fever Dream. I'm currently at around 35% of the way through, so I can't give you a super accurate rating, but it's currently sitting around a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I do really love Emmett, and I like Julia. This main character is also named Julia, but Emmett is really fun. I love how he gives his nicknames to everyone. Also, I love that he has like a bull riding persona, but obviously that's not who he actually is deep down inside. And I think that there's some pretty tough topics that are being talked about in here. There is a trigger warning in the beginning of the book, so make sure you just pay attention to that before you jump into it. I think that if you are a fan of Elsie Silver's other writing, or if you're a fan of like Tarah DeWitt's series, you would probably like this book a lot. I'm having a good, fun, fantastic time, and I can't wait to find out what the big like plot twist is going to be, because currently at the moment, everything is kind of going really well. And there's no one like is keeping lies from someone else, and nobody's like, I don't know, hiding anything. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens when I reach the 50% mark. I have some thoughts. I have some hunches as which direction this could go. There is one direction where I hope it doesn't go, and there's another direction where I would be okay with it. But I'm not going to tell you what I think is going to happen. We'll just have to read it, and you'll have to get my final rating off of Goodreads because I'm not going to see you after I finish this. We're going to be moving on to the next video. So all of my socials and everything are linked in the description below if you're trying to find me on Fable or Pagebound or Goodreads or Instagram. Those are all places that you'll be able to find out the final rating. But I love the cover. I love the artwork. And there are some like illustrations in here. So that was fun too. So I'm just really excited to see what we encounter as we move through the book. Okay, so these next books, it's just very clearly defined which were my top 3. Kind of like a no-brainer to me. You've probably already heard me talk about these next few books because some of them were featured in previous videos. Coming up in 3rd place is Tessa Bailey's Picture Perfect. I accidentally read this book out of order, but that's okay. I really love these characters, and I felt like I was learning about them when I should be learning about them, and I didn't feel at any point that I missed out on any information. Things seem to just work, and I think that's why they call it an interconnected series, because they don't rely on each other, but it is fun to read them together. It's number 4 of the Big Shots series, and I have read Tessa Bailey's books before. However, they didn't hit quite as hard as this book did. Now, I went into this thinking like, I love baseball. I'm gonna love this baseball romance. And I was correct, but it was not very much baseball. And in this case, it worked. I was actually really surprised with the character that did end up being our main male character. I didn't think he was going to at first, but once he was revealed, it all made sense. And I was really glad that it was him because in the beginning, our female main character is actually leaning towards another guy. And you feel for her and you're rooting for her. But then here comes this man out of left field, if you will, for all my baseball girlies. He really just takes you by surprise. I'm just realizing now his shirt says orgasm donor. But anyways, Robbie is a trip. He actually is so funny, and I really liked him in this book. And our female main character was not insufferable. And I think sometimes when we have a really standout main male character, our female main character ends up falling a little flat, but not her. I loved Skylar, and I loved who she was, and I feel like the things that she had to go through were very well represented. And I think that if you like anything by 𝖊𝖆𝖆𝖆𝖆, you would really enjoy this book. And because of this book, I will be continuing this series. I may go back and read some of the other books, but I did actually pick up the book that has a character in common with this book. I'm actually quite excited to get into that one. I did pair this book with the audiobook as well, and I would highly suggest that because it was a really great audiobook. I did rate this a 4 out of 5 stars and a 4 out of 5 for spice. This book was a little spicy. So this was our 3rd place book. And now we're going to move into our 2nd place book. This was a little difficult, but also not, because 1st place really just took the whole thing, really just ran away with the month. So the 2nd place book that we have for July is Left of Forever by Tarah DeWitt. This is book number 2 of the Spoons Oregon series. There is a book 3 that's coming out. But if you watched our last vlog of continuing series that I'm in the middle of, you would already know that. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this book because, like I said, I did a whole vlog reading this book, and you can hear all of my thoughts about this book if you're interested in learning more. But I rated Left of Forever 4 out of 5 stars and 4 out of 5 for spice. Rating wise, this was right up there with Picture Perfect. However, the writing and the characters in this were really great in a non-rom-com sort of way. So this is contemporary romance. We have 2 characters that have drifted apart and come back together in a really unique way. I think this book represented a lot. This is an older book for those of you that may not care about YA or reading about teenagers or new age adults, 20, 21. This is definitely a little bit of an older couple, and they go through very adult things. I loved these two characters so much. But like I said, I'm not gonna give you the whole spiel here. You can just go back and watch the videos. I'll link them down in the description below. So yep, this is our number 2 spot. And that means our number 1 spot goes to our one and only Sweet Heat by Bolu Babalola. This is book 2 in the Honey and Spice series. And this was a 5-star, if not a 6-star read. I love Bolu's writing. She is so poetic. The words that she chooses to use, just everything about this woman's writing is perfect. I'm obsessed with her. I want to read everything that she's been involved in. I'm following her on Instagram now, and I just can't wait till she writes more books. This duology was that girl. I loved her, and I will forever talk about Honey and Spice and Sweet Heat until I die. I'm not going to give you the whole review because, again, this was part of another video, so you can go watch that if you're interested. It's hard for me to even put this into a category with other books, but if I had to, based off of what I've read and like what I'm into, I don't know, like this is giving like Kristen Hanna level of writing, and I just was so attached to these characters. There's really no other contemporary romance that I have read thus far that just even compares. So this is why it deserves the number 1 spot. Sweet Heat, 5 stars. I did also rate it a 5 out of 5 for Spice because our characters, even though they go through something very messy, are still very spicy. So if you like spice, pick this one up. So there we have it. Our 8 books that we read in July, ranked and rated from our least favorite to our most favorite. Make sure to let me know in the comments below what your favorite read of July was. And if you don't want to say anything, drop a palm tree in the comments below so that I know you were here for our entire summer ranking. Make sure to like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on notifications so you do not miss our next upload. I am giving you a sneak peek of what the next video is going to be about, so make sure you don't miss it. Things have happened, things have changed around here, and I can't wait to share with you what I've been up to. As always, I thank you so much for being here with me today, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye-bye! Coming at you live. Okay, I look disgusting? Cool. Good. That's what I was aiming for.